Are you avoiding hard conversations at work? Stick around because I'm going to help you. Welcome to From a Woman to a Leader, the podcast for ambitious leaders in tech who are ready to grow their confidence, influence, and leadership without burning out or pretending to be someone they're not. I'm your host, Limor Bergman Gross. But first I want to share something personal. I really don't like conflict. I don't like hard conversations. And for years, it sabotaged my career. I took the positive intelligence saboteur assessment a couple of years ago, and my number one saboteur is called the avoider. The avoider is someone who avoids conflict at all cost. Say yes when they mean no, and seeks peace and harmony, even when the cost is their own career. And that's me. And I'm still working on it. When I started managing a team for the first time, that's when it really hurt me the most. Because when you're leading a team, there are always going to be moments where you have to give critical feedback or deal with someone that is not performing. I had an engineer on my team who was underperforming, and I felt it. I kind of sensed it. I knew it. She was smart, but her results were not really that good. And I didn't say anything for months. I kept telling to myself, it would get better. Maybe she just needs more time. But things didn't get any better, and also the team noticed that. And eventually, I had to let her go. And it took several months that the team had been carrying the weight for her lack of performance. And eventually the conversation I was so afraid to have, it was just a 30-minute conversation that I found out she even planned to leave anyway to pursue a master's degree. And that's why she was not really motivated to make an effort. And it cost me several months of frustration, and also for my team. And it wasn't just that. In meetings, when someone talked over me or said something dismissive, I stayed quiet. I walked out angry and replayed it in my head for days, but I never said anything. If you relate to any of that, keep listening. I moved to the US from Israel at the end of 2010, and I had to adjust to a different communication culture. See, in Israel, we are very direct. We get to the point very quickly. And there's not a lot of patience for small talk. And in the US, I had to learn to slow down, warm up, start with how are you, talk about the weather or whatever, before getting to business. And here's the thing I realized. From my own experience and from coaching hundreds of women in tech and in engineering leadership, the women I work with are not bad communicators. You are not a bad communicator. You're stuck between two bad options. Stay quiet and get overlooked, or speak up and get labeled too aggressive, too tough, too much. And the women that I coach lean toward staying quiet. They avoid conflict. They don't push back. And then, they wonder why they're not getting promoted, why their ideas get ignored, and why someone else gets the credit. And I want to challenge you for a second. If you keep having the same conflicts at work, or you keep avoiding them, a lot of times it's not because the other person is difficult. It's because you are starting the conversation from the wrong place. I coached an engineering leader who couldn't get her manager to listen. Every time she proposed something, he shut it down. She was obviously very frustrated, and she felt he didn't respect her ideas. And as we dug into it, we realized the problem was not her ideas. It was how she was framing them. She cared about engineering excellence, efficiency, reducing rework, saving her team unnecessary pain. Her manager, he cared about shipping features and business results. Every time she said, we need to refactor this, we should invest in reducing tech debt, he heard she wants to spend time on things that don't deliver the business. So we had to work on reframing. Instead of talking about what she wanted to do, she started leading with why it mattered in his language, how it would actually help them ship features faster, how it would reduce the bugs that were slowing down releases. And things started to shift. He started listening. And he started listening not because her ideas changed, but because she spoke in a way he could hear. And let me give you another example, this one from my own experience as a manager. So I had an engineer who was never online before 11 a.m., sometimes even noon. And the team was so frustrated and angry. And they came to me to complain. I mean, not all of them at once, but people started complaining. And my instinct was to be direct and to say, hey, you're starting late. It's affecting the team. Stop doing it. But instead, I took a different approach. I came with curiosity and I said, I noticed that you're not showing up before 11 a.m. or even noon. What's going on? And I learned something I didn't know. The person was most productive in the afternoons and evenings. He was doing his best work late at night. And the problem was not that he wasn't working, it was that we were not aligned on expectations. And because I didn't come with assumptions, I came with questions instead of accusations, the conversation became a collaborative problem-solving session instead of an argument. We figured it out together. Because that conversation could have easily turned into a conflict, but it didn't, because I started from curiosity, not from judgment. So if you struggle with speaking up, or if you keep avoiding hard conversations, or you don't get along with someone at work, here are 3 things I want you to try. Number 1, know your why before you walk in. So before you have a conversation, ask yourself, why is this important? Why should the other person care? What's in it for them? If you can't clearly articulate to yourself why it matters, you're not ready for the conversation. So spend a few minutes, write it down, 2 sentences, and that's your opening. And think about who you're talking to. What do they care about? What language do they speak? And I don't mean English, Spanish, Hebrew, whatever, but what motivates them? What makes them tick? Frame your why in their language, not in yours. Number 2, when you hit defensiveness, stop talking and start asking. So you're prepared, you know your why, you walk in, you shared everything clearly, and the other person gets defensive. Happen to you? It happens all the time. And when it does, do not repeat your point louder or again and again. Do not push harder, because that's just create a spiral where each person talks over the other and you both leave frustrated. Instead, ask question. How do you see this? What are your concerns? Help me understand where you're coming from. And this is something that took me years to accept. Sometimes you cannot close the loop in one conversation. Sometimes people need to absorb what you said. And you need time to absorb what you heard. And it's totally fine to say, let me think about what you shared. Let's pick this up tomorrow. Because sometimes the longer route is the more effective one. Number 3, lead with questions, not instructions. Especially, if you're in a leadership role, nobody likes being told what to do. And nobody likes being told they are wrong. So instead of saying, you need to do it this way, try asking a question. How would you approach it? And if if the person, you start with questions and they go in a direction that you don't think is going to work, challenge them with questions. How do you think this will scale? What happens where we hit whatever situation may be? You're guiding the conversation without making anyone lose face. You're being diplomatic without being silent. And here's what I learned after years of being the avoider. The conversations I was most afraid of were the almost never as bad as I imagined. And the cost of not having them was always worse than I thought. Every time I stayed quiet to keep the peace, I paid for it later in lost time, lost respect, and lost a lot of sleep, replaying what I should have just said. And this week, I want to challenge you to try one thing. Pick one conversation you've been avoiding, or one where you normally jump straight to what you want, and lead with the why instead. Start with 2 sentences of context. Ask one question before you make your point and see what happens. And I want to hear about it. So I write about this every week on my Substack, where I go deeper on the patterns I see with the women I coach, the mistakes I made, and what actually works when you're trying to lead without losing yourself. And if this episode resonated with you, subscribe to limorbergman.substack.com. I'll see you in your inbox every week with something real, something personal, and something you can actually use. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.